Karen Bantaveras, the founder of Volunteer Spot, and we're here to talk about parent-teacher conferences, best practices in conferences, and building partnerships. And we're very excited to have put together an all-star panel of educators and teacher experts, including Joe Mazza, who's a principal from Philadelphia, and he runs the very popular parent-teacher chat on Twitter. Lisa Dabbs, who runs the very popular New Teacher Chat, NT Chat on Twitter, and she's an education consultant and a blogger with Edutopia. And then Greg Garner is an education technologist from Austin, Texas, from my own school district, and he is at Classroom Tech on Twitter. Pernille Riff is a 5th grade teacher. She's at Pernille Riff on Twitter, and she has been doing student-led parent-teacher conferences for some time now. And Glenn Yetter is a 6th grade teacher from Hatfield, Pennsylvania, and Glenn is also an expert in student-led parent conferences. So let me share with you what we're up to today. Oh, and just a little bit, let me just share with you what we're up to today. Here's our agenda. Right now is the welcome part. If you guys in the chat will take a look in the lower right, we've put a hashtag for this conversation today. It's PT Conference, PT Conf. And we've put the Twitter handles of everybody who's participating. So if you wouldn't mind taking a look on that if you're in Twitter and sharing what you're up to, it's not too late for other people to join us. And then if you could in the chat just put in what city and state you're from and what grade you teach. That would just be helpful for everybody, make it visible to everybody, and that way we can just see a rolling sample of who's here today in our conference. We're going to talk about some survey results in parent-teacher conferences. We're going to look at conference game plans and tips by Lisa. We're going to get into student-led conferences. Glenn's going to give us a really nice overview about how to rock student-led conferences. We're going to learn about documenting learning with new technology from Greg, and then building ongoing parent-teacher and student relationships with Joe. And then we're going to open it up for questions and answers. All along the way, if you have questions, go ahead and click the question button on the right and enter them in. Most likely, we will answer your questions towards the end of the conversation, but if there's something immediate and we can figure out a way to get it into the conversation without making our presenters skip a beat, we'll make sure to do that. And also, at the end of this conference, we'll be giving a demonstration of Volunteer Spot, which is a free and easy online way to coordinate parent volunteers, room helpers, and also we're great for organizing parent-teacher conferences. So if you want to stay for an extra 5 minutes and see how our free parent-teacher conference scheduler works, would love to walk you through a demo. All right, so as the founder of Volunteer Spot, we've really spent a lot of time becoming experts in parent-teacher partnerships and how do we improve the overall school community. And I was very privileged to be a part of Parenting Magazine's Mom Congress earlier this year in April. And they did a study with the NEA about what do parents think about teachers and what do teachers think about parents. And there were a few different statistics that I thought were very relevant for this conversation. The great news is 45% of parents gave their teachers an A for parent relationships. And then 88% of parents consider their child's teacher a partner, but only 54% of teachers felt that parents do their part at home to ensure kids get the most out of their classroom learning. So you can see there's a little bit of a disconnect between what parents are thinking and what teachers are thinking. Also, 93% of teachers believe that parents are given an opportunity to have input and participate in school, but only 75% of parents thought they could have those opportunities. 25% of them felt shut out. And I bring up this study because parent-teacher conferences are one of the most important touch points where the parent and the teacher can start to build rapport and really get the relationship off to a great start. Very often it happens at the beginning of the school year, and then if you're lucky in your district, you'll have one or more throughout the year. And I love this slide. It comes from our volunteering side of the practice, but it absolutely works in schools, and we use it when we talk to PTA communities at PTA conferences. Every parent, when they come to the school, they can go through a natural progression from tourist to traveler to guide if you look at the parent engagement with your campus and with your school community. 80% of your parents are going to become tourists. They're going to attend their parent-teacher conference. Hopefully that number's more. They're probably going to volunteer at the school carnival. They're going to come and read to the class when you ask them to. And they're going to be involved in having several different touch points with their child's education and with your school community. And the parent-teacher conference is a very important touch point that lets, if you think of it like a passport, it's a stamp on the passport, and it's an opportunity to have face-to-face engagement with parents and to answer that, help them answer the question, is there anything else here for me in the larger school community or in the larger classroom community and engaging in my child's education? Of our 80% of parents that are tourists, 15% will roll up into travelers, and that's where they're trying to make a deeper connection. This might be the parent that decides that they would like to lead science experiments in your classroom, or they would like to take the lead in helping with a holiday production with the class, or perhaps they want to take a leadership role in your parent-teacher group community at school. And then 5% of those parents are going to have a deep engagement where they're going to become guides. They're going to become your parent leaders. They're going to become your classroom room parents. And hopefully they're going to advocate for the education and the school on a broader community level, not only just for your campus, but for education in the school overall. And all that can begin with a very positive parent-teacher partnerships, and the parent-teacher conference is a really important part of that. So we did a survey of our parents and teachers on VolunteerSpot. We have more than 2 million users. We had 1,000 people answer our survey in a 2-day period. 900 were parents and 100 were teachers. And parents rated their last conference 85% excellent or good, and teachers rated their last round of conferences as 92% excellent or good. So I think that's fantastic. And then we asked our teachers, what are you doing in your conferences? Because if they're doing so well, what kinds of things are they doing? 24% were doing pre-conference questions for parents, trying to surface parent concerns. 73% were using paper student portfolios. This next one I thought was very interesting. We had close to 20% that were starting to use electronic student portfolios. And what's interesting as well is we had a small number with student-led conferences, and I'm going to guess that electronic portfolios were part of those student-led conferences as well. 55% used an agenda. I was surprised. I thought that number might be higher. 60% of teachers pre-prepare action plans for students. 35% prepare action plans for parents. So this is a really interesting opportunity for improvement if we're talking about parents wanting to feel engaged and teachers feeling that parents don't at home support the learning community. You know, perhaps we can be as teachers a little more overt in what we want parents to do. 65% did give parents a resource list, which was great. And then 7% of our teachers were using virtual parent meetings, whether that's Skype or a phone or FaceTime on their iPads. So there you go. This is our survey results. And right now I'm going to pass you on to Lisa Dabbs. She's at Teaching with Soul on Twitter, but notice there's no on yet. And again, she coming to us from Los Angeles with a world of education experience. So Lisa, go ahead, unmute yourself and join us.
Well, great. Thank you, Karen. It's my honor and privilege to be here with all of you today. And I want to begin by not only thanking our wonderful sponsors at McGraw-Hill for allowing us to join together to do this great webinar this afternoon, but I also want to thank my friends at VolunteerSpot for all they do to support parents and others globally with having better organization and things that we want to do to collaborate with one another, be it in an organization or again as a teacher or even as an administrator. So thank you so much, and thank you lastly to all of you who have joined today and taken the time out of your busy days. And it's still early afternoon here in the Los Angeles area, but I know for many it's already the afternoon and you've worked all day. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
So some of this information might be very familiar to many of you, and if it is, then bravo, I'm really happy for you. And then most of what I share today will validate that for you. And for those that are still thinking about ways that they can improve their parent conference time and their relationships, then I hope that you'll find something fresh and new that perhaps one of us here on the panel shares with you today. And a few months ago, I began a new teacher academy on Edutopia, talking about supporting new teachers in a variety of areas. And as a former principal, that's a real big focus area for me, is to support and mentor new teachers. And when we talked about a segment of that series in the New Teacher Academy about supporting working with parents, one of the things that we emphasized at the very beginning was to begin on a positive note. And what we've seen that can happen not only to new teachers but veteran teachers is that the first communication with a parent is a negative one. You have a child in your class, be it elementary school, middle, or high school, that's not doing well, and you haven't had the opportunity to communicate with the parent prior to this event, and so bam, that's the first time that you meet. So right at the beginning, really recommending a positive communication with a parent. Send an email home, send a note home, make a phone call home, and let the parent know something positive about their child, be it the great writing skills you observed, their math abilities, their great in social studies, their art, their ability to speak, something positive right at the beginning to allow you to make that positive connection. And as you're preparing to do that, ask parents which is the best way to reach them. Some parents might like a phone call, others might feel free to have you text them, others might like a good old-fashioned note. So find out from them what works best for them. And then really use a variety of communication tools. We're so busy in our lives, and so it makes it great to know that with the variety of technology tools at our disposal, the variety of free web tools and apps that are available, we can really reach out to parents in a variety of different ways. Next slide. There you go. Thank you. And what you're going to want to do as you prepare for this important parent conference time, you're going to want to establish a conference calendar. I can't tell you how, as a school principal, I would announce to my staff and let them know when the conference time was going to be. And lo and behold, I would have teachers tell me 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later, that they scheduled a dental appointment for themselves, or they scheduled a soccer game time with their child. And I really want to stress that we are professionals as educators, and we want to show that. So make the time, take the time to block out your conference calendar time, and make sure you keep that free from personal appointments so that you can be fully engaged and available throughout the conference time. And one of the ways that you can do that is think about using Volunteer Spot, which Karen's going to share later with us. It really makes it easy to schedule. Think about using your smartphone. Think about using your Google Calendar to make sure that you've blocked out that time so that you don't have that impede what you want to do on those important parent conference days. And get a database going with your parent contacts, which is best way to reach them. Maybe it's a grandmother who takes care of the child, an auntie, maybe it's a single parent, but you really want to make sure that you have every child listed with every parent contact. And as you're preparing to do that, you want to make sure that you include a map of the campus when you're gathering your materials for that conference time. I can't tell you how many parents would come to our counter when I was a school principal and say, I know my teacher's name, but I don't know what classroom they're in. So important to give them that information, and that can even be done in a digital manner via an email you might send home. Set expectations for yourself about what you're going to discuss, and as Karen mentioned, think about holding a virtual conference if your parents can't attend face-to-face. Next slide. As you're preparing for this important parent conference, I really want to urge you to create a student portfolio of some kind. Maybe it's going to be a good old-fashioned folder, and I just did a blog for Edutopia about the use of old school tools, and there's nothing wrong with that. But begin at the beginning to gather that folder and begin that portfolio of gathering work samples of the students that you're working with, be it high school or kindergarten, and establish that method from the beginning so that you can collect that easily. Consider using an electronic tool to do that. Maybe you're very technology savvy and you want to use Dropbox, or you want to set up a wiki, or you want to use Google. But find a way to create that portfolio, and then set a schedule for yourself to capture those work samples at least once a week so that you're not trying to grab all that work at the very few days right before the conference. And if you're going to have a student support you, in that student-led conference, you want to make sure to have timelines and deadlines set up with them so that they know as they're going through and they're sharing their portfolio that there is a timeline as to how much work they can share and what kind of work you want to make sure that they do share with their parents at that conference.
Great.
And here we are at the conference day, and you need to have a plan. We talk a lot about the fact that if we don't plan, things don't normally go as well as we'd like. So we really want to make sure to have a conference day plan, have a timer, have a start and end time, and really honor not only your time with the parents, but the parents' time as well. You're going to have parents waiting in line. It's such a short period of time that we have to conference with parents, and especially at the very beginning. So make sure that you have a start and end time. Share an agenda with your parents as they arrive, and make sure that you have that available for all of them so that they know here is our timeline, here's how much we're going to be able to share, and that you're thanking them for coming. And ask questions of your parents so that you're not the only one delivering all the information. And make sure you take notes. When I used to be a school principal and I'd have those very important parent conferences in my office, I would always say to parents, I just want you to know that I'm going to be taking notes because what you're sharing is important to me. So let the parents know that their child is important, and so you're going to be taking notes on the important things that they share, and listen. Be an active listener. As educators, we are great speakers, and we are great at delivering instruction, but sometimes we fall short on the area of listening, so really make a point to practice your active listening skills. And then oftentimes, sadly, a conference can become unproductive. So don't be afraid to stop and reschedule it if it is. There is no point to proceeding forward if you can't accomplish those great goals that you have for sharing about parents and children together.
Thank you so much, Lisa.
We want to focus on the whole child. We want to focus on their strengths. We want to share some of those. But we also need to make sure to take time to share opportunities for improvement. We don't want to overwhelm our parents and make them feel as though there's some tremendous work ahead, but take some time to share some improvement opportunities and give some steps or offer some steps as to how a parent can partner with you to do that. And then lastly, make sure the parents know that they can share their concerns with you anytime they need to, that you're available privately, you're available by phone, or any way that you've shared is an important way to do that. But make sure that they know that you are available to share any concerns that they might have that could potentially affect the academic and social success of their child. And then lastly, invite parents to your team. Ask them how you would like them to participate. You know, many parents feel left out. They feel as though they're outsiders. And so make sure you ask them how they would like to participate. Set up volunteer opportunities. If they can't come in, have them do it at home. Maybe they have a special talent and you want to have a career day. Have those parents come in and share that special talent with you. And if you have some great Web 2.0 tools that will support the homeschool collaboration, be sure to share those as well. And remember, parents need to feel valued just as we do, and the important thing is for us to be able to accomplish that not only at the parent conference time, but throughout the entire school year.
Great. Lisa, thank you very much. Really appreciate those wonderful tips.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to invite Glenn to take the screen. Glenn, if you'll please unmute yourself, and Glenn's going to talk to us about student-led conferences.
Great, thank you, Karen. Actually, thank you to Karen and mcgraw-hill for inviting me and letting me participate today. Everything's been extremely well organized, and I appreciate that. Calling from rainy Philadelphia, where it's kind of a sad day, I guess, because the Phillies aren't in the playoffs, so maybe that's why it's raining today. Just a base note on your previous screen about the only 14% for student-led conferences. Hopefully after today that number is going to jump up a little bit. So I hope you enjoyed a picture of me as a monk. This was actually taken prior to our 6th grade Renaissance Fair trip. And I actually wanted to include this because I think it makes a great point in terms of the students gaining some ownership for their conference. I want them to think about their presentation to be mostly about them. By including some pictures about this, including things about their personality and who they are, I think it really drives home the point about ownership. Okay, thank you. So what's a student-led conference? Well, to some extent, it's almost self-defining. It's a conference where we get the student to lead the discussion. We have some set procedures we follow where the students actually get a chance to review their academic and social behavior in a very organized and planned format. We have a one-on-one meeting with the teacher prior to the student-led conference to kind of go over their performance, where they see themselves academically and socially, and then to try and plan more for the conference. We work very hard on setting very specific goals, both academically and behaviorally. Initially, some students may say, oh, well, I just want to get an A in math, and I want to get an A in all my tests. Well, okay, that's good, but what's that look like? Is it homework completion? Is it more test review? Is it spending extra time with the teacher? Do you need to come in the mornings? Are your parents going to help you with that? So we really try and get very specific about helping them to reach their goals. Conferences are modeled. We actually practice as we create actually a fishbowl so the students get an opportunity to see what a conference is going to look like. I have a PowerPoint modeled for them, so that helps relieve some of the stress. We actually do a real serious rehearsal too, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. Okay, next slide. Thanks. I won't talk too much about portfolios because I know Lisa did a great job talking about that, but it is a very key point to the whole conference. However, the big difference perhaps is that the students actually get a chance to select those items that they would like to have in their conference to show their personality, to show their performance, to show how well they're doing, and also to think about, as Lisa had said, for areas of improvement as well. So the portfolios are a big piece as well. Okay, next slide. This is a brief snapshot of part of the script that we actually use. It gives the students a focused monologue to an extent, if you will, to welcome their parents, helps relax them, gives them something very specific to talk about. It's organized with goal setting. It follows a very specific order for the subjects. For example, we're on a 6th grade team with 3 teachers, so the student that would be starting with me for the student-led conference would just talk about the subjects that I teach them, and then as the next team teacher comes in, then their folder would be organized according to that subject, and so on. It just helps with the whole organization, and you don't have 100 papers flying around. Each subject has what we refer to as a reflection sheet, where the students would complete that with their artifact that they wish to share. And the reflection sheet can be kind of basic, where they would just discuss what kind of things do they like in math, how do they feel when they take a math test, something that they really enjoy in math, and then, of course, the goal that they may have for math for that specific year. So it's very scripted, very organized. Next slide. We actually take the whole report card, and this is a snapshot of what we refer to as the characteristics of a successful learner. And we actually get the students to grade themselves. Do they exceed the expectations? Are they meeting the expectations satisfactorily, or is there an area that's possibly needed for improvement? And so they would evaluate themselves, and then I would have some time to do a little one-on-one with them to see where they feel that they are acting and behaving in the class. And it's always interesting that most kids tend to grade themselves a little bit harder. They may feel that they don't follow directions as well, but I may see them as a great direction follower. So it's a great opportunity for us to have the discussion, and then they're able to share this out with their parents. And then from this report card review, we can kind of use that to drive our goals for the rest of the year. I need to stay more focused. How am I going to do that? What's that going to look like? How do I use my time more wisely, because I actually became more aware of it by filling out the successful learner. Okay, next slide. And just a key on a couple highlights here. We actually we go through the reflection sheets. We do a tech piece where it could be through PowerPoint, it could be through Prezi. Some students really are enjoying the Prezi now, so I think it's a great choice for them. We do go over the successful learner part. And I want to talk about the holding the chair for the parents. That may seem like a little minute point, but actually it's a huge, huge piece of the conference. We really literally have the desk set up in the classroom so that the student is able to look not only at their parents, but also at the window, also at the clock, also at the door to make sure that they're staying on time. Now, by holding the chair for the parents, and of course we joke, don't pull the chair out from under mom, but to actually really sets the tone for the conference. So when the student literally holds a chair for their mom, they're directing, I'm in charge, here's where you need to sit, and then off we go. Plus, as a parent sit across from the student and I, it allows me to easily have conversation with the parents as things are going on, helps me to console or help and guide the conference with the student. But I really think that sets the whole tone of the student's in charge, I'm here to show you how awesome I am. So it may seem like a mute, small point, but it really works out well. We also talk about making sure that the conference is not a reading, that it's literally a conference. So we want the kids to learn to actually have discussion, look somebody in the eye, not just read from the entire script or their reflection sheet. So that's a big point for them as well. We always close with a big hug and a thank you. And I guess the biggest part of the student-led conference that I think is huge is the whole accountability factor. The student really has to take some ownership for their learning. They really have to be accountable for what their performance has been, what's going to happen in the future. So for me, it's the only type of conference I've really had in the last 12 to 15 years. In terms of an engagement piece, I would say the attendance rate is in the 90% range because your child is asking you to come to school to hear about them, and it's very difficult for parents to say no to that. So I'm really excited for this year's actually student-led conferences. We're actually going to put a little twist on it. We're going to do it closer to the end of the year and actually take a look at them as a transition conference. What are some goals and things that I want to set as I go off into the middle school, junior high for the next year? So student-led conferences, give them a try. It's a great opportunity. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Glenn. Really appreciate that great overview of student-led conferences. And wow, to get 90% of parents to show up by running student-led conferences, that's a great secret weapon for participation.
Yeah, it's huge. It's great. Thanks.
Love it. Thank you so much. Next, we're going to turn to Greg. Greg, if you'll please unmute yourself. This is Greg Garner from Austin, Texas, and he's the education technologist at Westridge Middle School. Go ahead, Greg.
Sure, and thanks to mcgraw-hill and the volunteer spot for having me. Grateful for the opportunity. Basically, technology is changing the way that students, teachers, and parents are interacting with the curriculum, and as such, I think it needs to facilitate a change in the way that we assess and communicate with one another. And so not just in the way that we incorporate new lessons and do different things within the classroom, but also as we are talking about the curriculum outside of the classroom. And as we're talking with parents, we need to look at ways that we can incorporate more technology. So I just wanted to cover a couple of tools that would be hopefully very practical for you and that would help you along. The most important thing to remember in the midst of all of this is that technology provides options. That's the secret to any healthy relationship is communication. We know this. That's as old as time, and the communication piece cannot be. I don't think you can put too much of an emphasis on that. That the tools that are available to us now give us options for more communication, for varied types of communication. They give us flexibility and time and location in the way that we're going to demonstrate what students are doing or not doing in some cases. And so they also can point to changing paradigms, and the technology that we have can take a look at what students are learning, how do we know that they're learning it, did they learn it at all? What do we do when the student already knows what we're trying to teach them? The questions that we ask as teachers, the technologies that we have available to us can also facilitate that change to parents. And we can have parents asking these questions. We can have parents engaging students in these conversations. So we're going to take a look at the first tool, which is Skype. And we'll go to the next slide. There we go. Basically, if you're unfamiliar with Skype, it's a free download at skype.com, and it's video conferencing software. And they're always changing and always updating. And the thing about Skype is that it's free and it's fairly common these days. And so if you're a little hesitant about trying out the newest, latest, greatest, check out Skype. It's kind of an old established, if there is such a thing for web-based technology. Skype is one that's been around for a while. It's fairly stable. It's one that's worth taking a look. File and screen sharing is a big deal because it's one thing to do like we're doing where you're seeing a screen with slides that I've produced, and I could talk to you about them. I can tell you all about what's going on, but for you to be able to see them is what makes it powerful. So if I had a file that I wanted you to see, say a student's an assignment, then that file in your hands, virtual hands being through your screen, all of a sudden becomes a lot more powerful. It's more meaningful to you, not only as a parent, but then as the educator to be able to share that out and the screen sharing. So if there was maybe a video or other type of project that a student created, for you to be able to walk the parent through and show what it is that you expected, maybe what you didn't expect from the student, maybe what they did or didn't do and ways that they could improve, and it just facilitates a little bit more communication. There are other tools out there. If you're not a fan of Skype or you think there's something else that works better, that's fine. I wanted to point out Skype to you so that you could see, in case a parent's unable to make it, then maybe try a Skype call or a conference call, and that's an option available to you. The next one we're going to take a look at is called Evernote. And I have been accused, probably rightfully so, of being an Evernote junkie. I live a good portion of my life in my Evernote account. I save everything to it, and Evernote is basically my external brain. The power behind Evernote is I can put almost any kind of file inside of Evernote, and it's going to be accessible from any internet-connected device. That could be an iPhone, an iPad, an Android phone, a Windows phone, a BlackBerry, and a Kindle Fire. I mean, basically, any computer, I can get to my Evernote account. There is downloadable software, or you can go through their website, evernote.com, and access the files that you have saved there. Now, what's great about this is it's shareable multimedia portfolios from any device or machine. So I can make a note about a student on my phone, and then when I get back to the computer after class or at the end of the day, I can go in and that note will already be there. I can edit, I can add additional details about that note. So if I'm making an observation about a student or about student work, one of the things I've done is snap a picture or shoot a quick video about what's taking place at that time. And then I put that into my Evernote account, and then later I'm able to go back and add my comments and review what was happening at that point in time. Then when I go into a parent conference, I've got a photo or a quick video, I've got maybe student work that I've tied in there, I've got my notes, my reflections, and then that's all easily shareable. I can share it through email, I can post it up on a website, depending on how public or private you need it to be. I can share it via Twitter. There's several different options available to you for sharing. And you see along the left side, kind of at the top on the slide where it says Notebooks. One of the powerful things about Evernote is you can organize your notes into notebooks. So you could have a notebook for each of your students. You can have sub-notebooks. So one of the things I did as I was documenting student learning is I had a notebook for each of my classes. And then inside of each of those notebooks, I had my students. So then as students turned in their work, as I made notes about them, as I needed to remember things about for their parent conference, I could add it to their individual notebook. And then when it was time to go to the parent conference, again, any device. So I can go to my phone, I can go to an iPad, I can go to a computer. They can open it up on their computer if I share it with them. And I know exactly where it is and how to get to it. And it's all in one spot. I can further organize it if I want with tags and just add a little bit more detail to it depending on how much work you are going to have. The main feature of Evernote that I like the best is search. I think that search within Evernote is really powerful because it's going to search through all of your notes. It's going to index your PDFs, and it's going to look through even the text of the PDFs. So if you have your students submit work via either PDF or doc, you can put it into Evernote, and if it's in a PDF format, you're going to be able to find the content within that document, so that if you know what you're looking for, just type it into search, it'll pull it in. It's also integrated with a variety of tools and applications that work really well with it, such as Sketch or Penultimate. Clearly, there's several different applications that work really well and give you a lot of power as a teacher heading into a parent conference. And so I like Evernote a lot. Take a look at it, see if it's something that you think would work well for your next parent-teacher conference. The next tool we're going to take a look at is called Edmodo, and some of you have maybe heard of this, some of you maybe not. This is a student learning community, and so basically as the teacher, you can create a class, and then within that class, each class will have a specific code where you would give that code to your students, and then your students would be members of that class, and that class only. And so they're not
Oh no, we just lost Greg's audio. Can you guys give me a raised hand, staff, if you can still hear me? Okay. Greg, hopefully you can come back on. Okay, can I ask Lisa to unmute and talk about Edmodo I think you've used it before, or Joe?
And so,
oh, there we go.
And so the power here is you have ongoing, just-in-time, asynchronous learning and assessment. You have the ability for parents to be able to interact and work with their student, their child, in real time or asynchronously outside of class time. They can go back in later and take a look at what's going on. There's a lot of power in giving parents the ability to kind of get a sneak peek into the learning process as it's happening, rather than waiting on a parent conference 3 or 4 months from now. They can do it at the end of the day or even during class itself. And so between those three, we're really putting a lot of power, not just into the teacher's hands, but into the parents' hands, and getting them involved into the learning process. Okay, so we'll go to the next slide. I wanted to address special education in 504 because I believe technology provides a tremendous platform for special education and 504 students. You've heard a lot about portfolios already, and I think that portfolios are perhaps most important in the special education and 504 evaluation. As we look at determining how a student is doing, it's important to have those work samples. It's important to have the documentation that is going to show us whether or not their accommodations and their modifications are being effective. And maybe we need new ones, or we need to remove some of the ones that they have because they're not effective anymore. And if we use tools like Evernote, and we have Edmodo, and we have these things where the students are able to have all of their work in a single place, where we can have that documentation and those work samples all tied together, then all of a sudden our special education and 504 meetings can go quite a bit differently. Because instead of, well, he said, she said, I don't know if you've had the meetings that I've had, but I've had some of the finger-pointing meetings. And when you have student work to be able to get put into the parents' hands, and it's easily tied together, and it's a portfolio that shows their progress or sometimes lack of progress, then all of a sudden it changes the conversation. And instead of becoming an adversarial conversation where parents are on edge because mama bear's coming out, we end up with parents and teachers partnering together to say, we're on the same team, we want the child to succeed, how can we help them to succeed? And so the example here is you can have an Evernote account, and then the audio records and feedback tied with the student assignments, so that even if you have a student assignment in a note, I can record my feedback right there in the note and then share that with the parents via the Edmodo account or Skype. And so the key that I want you to take away with this is to set the stage for your next ARD or 504 meeting, and introduce these digital tools. Put the power into your parents' hands.
Great. Thank you so much, Greg. And what's great about the kinds of tools that you're talking about, as a parent myself who's often involved in school fundraising, when you come into your parent-teacher conference and you get to see where some of that money goes to, that the district's working hard to raise money for technology, or the campus itself is raising money for technology, to see that technology in action really wows us parents that don't get to see it every day. I also just want to take a real pause. There's several questions about people are really enjoying the presentation and want access to the recording and to the slides and to the resources. And yes, that will all be available. We'll give you a link at the end of the presentation that you can go to download everything. So we're here and we're so glad you're enjoying it. So we've learned about some tips for teachers getting ready for parent-teacher conferences. From Lisa, Glenn led us through talking about student-led conferences, and Greg did a really good job of helping us understand what technology is available. Now Joe's going to put a bow around it and really talk about that parent partnership and how we can make sure that we're strengthening parent partnerships during our conferences and beyond. Joe, are you ready? Please unmute.
Yeah, hi everybody. It's great to be here. Greg, really enjoyed your presentation, and I think that one of the last things you said was building that time for training and providing time for parents and teachers to get to know these tools is so important, and just really sacrificing the time it takes, because we can't expect our teachers and parents to utilize all these tools if we don't provide the time and the training necessary. I'm really going to talk about the partnership and what you can do not only on the day of parent-teacher conferences, but before that and after that. You know, typically teachers are doing 15, 20, 25, I've heard of 30 conferences on a day. And especially this first one coming up this school year is really your opportunity, and to really put your best foot forward and really show those parents who you are as a person, as a teacher, and what they can expect from you moving forward throughout the school year. So you have, whether you have 15, 30, you have to bring your A game 15 or 30 different times during that school day. Some of these parents that you see on this day, it might be the only time you see them all year. We don't really know who our families are until we get to know them during the school year. So I really consider the first, especially this first parent-teacher conference of the school year, your first impression for parents to show them that you are a learner. You are sitting there listening. I heard Lisa talk earlier about being a listener. That is so important for them to understand that when you walk in that door, you don't have all the answers. You are counting on them to share with you every piece of information possible about that child and about that parent. And really, you know, just making it completely as much listening as possible during that first opportunity, that first meeting. Go to the next slide, please. And as they leave the conference, as you talk through the conference, as you're talking about different ways to extend the conversation, because whether your conference time is 5, 10, 15, 30, 45 minutes, you're not going to have enough time to truly have that conversation, that full comprehensive conversation, to really get on the same page. So how are you going to leave that conference and make sure that the parent knows that you are invested in making sure that conversation continues throughout the year? So finding out what that parent prefers in terms of communication. You can send flyers home, you can send newsletters, you can send email, but it's really the two-way communicators that really make the difference in terms of family engagement, keeping that parent-teacher conference not just a stationary calendar date, but really having that be the springboard to other conversations throughout the school year. So whether you have a classroom Twitter account, whether you have a blog, whether you want to send home a home technology survey, find out how you're going to be communicating throughout the school year. And I think it's really important to take a look at our parents, just as we do our students, in terms of differentiating for them. You know, they all come in the door needing something different in terms of communication and care. Just like our students do here at the school, I think we really have to take a look at what parents truly need from us and really ask them what they need, ask them where they feel like they fall short in terms of supporting the school every year. You know, just by asking questions shows so much about what you care about, what your values are, and then they're going to turn around as they drive home and say, wow, that teacher really cares about my child. That teacher cares about us and really wants us to have a fantastic school year. And I think many of us would agree that's a great way to start off the school year and really get ahead of all of the challenges that we know as teachers will be happening throughout the school year. So investing in that first impression, those partnerships right off the bat. You go to the next slide, please. So more about differentiating. One of the things that we're doing here at our school is doing a home technology survey. We did one a couple years ago, but as parents continue to use other technologies or those new families move in, we have to constantly reassess what we're offering for parents. And we can have a plethora. We can offer, the Edmodo or a Google Text or email or Twitter or Skype, all these things. But if we have a pocket of parents that have no access to that, we really need to make sure we're adapting our practice and differentiating for those parents. So one of the things, we have our back-to-school night tomorrow night, and one of the things that we're really trying to find out is where are our hard copy parents? Where is that pocket of families that whatever we do electronically, I want to make sure that I include them and send home something hard copy as well. So your parent-teacher conference, that's a great opportunity for you to either provide them a little mini survey or even ask them in the meeting, what they prefer in terms of communication. Go to the next slide, please. In terms of meeting the needs of the parents, you can have resources available. Again, you can send home emails and provide things in the newsletters, but accessing other areas of the school is something that I really think that you can do within that conference, either the beginning while they're waiting. You can have resources available to them for the next conference or something to hand them on the way out. This is a picture of our Parent Resource Center. We have signs around our building in multiple languages to try and, again, differentiate for some of the needs that we might see in our building. And again, we're constantly trying to find out what their needs are, whether they're language needs, and we need to maybe, I know that you're here, but you speak Korean and I don't have an interpreter here. Why don't we reschedule this for tomorrow? I'll make sure we have an interpreter on the line so I can give you the respect to understand you and your language and really identify what your needs are and what you would like to share with me about the child. And if, we always have no-shows, folks don't show up, it's so important to reconnect with those folks and really hammer home the fact that I am so invested. I really need to learn from you. So please, when can we reschedule this and provide a couple dates and times? And if they just can't get there, maybe they have access to Skype. Maybe they can do a phone conference. Maybe you can even go out there to their home or at a local, common place. But I think if you show them that you're willing to go the extra mile, no matter what it takes, that is really huge in terms of first impression. If you go to the last slide, please. Again, small gestures. This is the front and the back of my door up here in the office. So oftentimes I'm in the hallways of the school. I'm in meetings and other places. I constantly want parents to know how they can reach me, whether it's using technology, face-to-face. I want them to really, truly understand that I am totally invested in speaking with them, however they would like to be, spoken to, or in what venue that is. So making sure that you're really hammering that home and they have a copy of this and you've modeled it for them, you've offered different suggestions. It's the little things. And sometimes we don't have a chance to walk the parent out, whether it's a parent-teacher conference, we've got 25 other ones, I'm already behind 10 minutes. But there's other times that you do have that opportunity, whether it's an IEP meeting or another conference or back-to-school night or whatnot. Take that extra time. Show them that you have all the time in the world for them, because really this is such an important investment that you're making in their child. And again, everything that you say to them, share with them, questions you ask, it all relates back to how you're going to be treating that child throughout the school year. That's really all I have to share today. Every Wednesday night during PT Chat, we do share lots of different ideas like parent-teacher conferences. Lisa Dabbs with the new teacher chat is right before us at 8 Eastern. We're at 9 Eastern. I encourage anyone on this chat to join us on Wednesday nights. Our next chat is tomorrow night. It's really about helping parents create a home environment conducive to learning. So thank you very much. It's been great learning from all of you guys today.
Thank you so much, Joe. And you can just tell that his campus sets the tone for great parent, teacher, and student relationships. Look at his title in this picture. He's the lead learner on his campus, and I think that sets a great tone. wonderful examples and suggestions here. All right, so I would like to open up to the audience for questions. Several of you have already put some questions into the chat. We've got about 6 or 7 minutes for questions. The first one I'd like to direct to Pernille. So Pernille, if you'll please unmute. And the question is, what are some of the advantages of student-led conferences, and how much time does it take before the conference to get your class ready? Pernille, can you hear?
Sorry, I muted myself due to the crying baby. Yes, student-led conferences, it doesn't take a lot of time once students understand what it is you want them to do. So like Lynn was saying, I teach 5th grade and have done it with 4th graders as well. We talk about what it is the expectations are for that student-led conference and what they're expected to share and show. Once you've shown that, it takes maybe a half an hour, 45 minutes, then you can start meeting with individual kids and they can start going through their expectations. Obviously, different kids need different scaffolding. The advantages, one second.
We caught you at a rough time there.
The advantages of student-led conferences that I've found is that students really end up taking control of their learning and also of their goals because they find that they're invested in the conversation. So you're not talking around them to their parents, but they're the ones leading the conference, meaning they're also the ones saying, hey, this is what I'm going to do, and this is the path that I'm going to take for the year. So I just see a deeper level engagement from students when I've done the student-led conferences.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. We have
Karen,
a question.
if I may?
Please.
The only thing, and that was great, Pernille, the only thing I would like to add is there's no more he said, she said. I mean, all the stakeholders are involved at the same table, so everyone's hearing the same message from everyone. So I think that's a huge advantage as well.
Thanks, Glenn.
Sure.
And we have another question. Has anyone used Google Hangout, and what other electronic tools do you guys recommend for portfolio and parent communication? Lisa or Joe, do you want to take that one?
Sure. Google Hangouts.
I'll talk a little bit about that, Karen. I think that when it...
Go ahead, Lisa.
Well, I was just going to say, Joe, and then please follow up. I was just going to say that if you are wanting to do something beyond the face-to-face, or you can't use face-to-face, then it's really a great idea to communicate via Skype or communicate via Google Hangout. I don't know any teachers that are using the Google Hangout to communicate with parents, but I think, Joe, as you were going to start to say, some of these sites are blocked in our campuses, so it would require extra time on the part of the teacher to do it perhaps later on in the afternoon or in the evening. But the other piece that's really important, and some teachers are not willing to do this, but it's really important, is to think about doing a home visit. Here in the state of California, we used to have this tremendous grant proposal program where teachers would get paid to go and do home visits, and it was amazing. Unfortunately, the grant monies for that ran out after about 10 years. But the home visit, and Joe, I'm sure you know this, is so critical when it can be done, and it can really replace the parent conference when the parent just can't make it to school.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Lisa. I learned from Larry Ferlazzo, he was on PT Chat last year, about the parent-teacher home visit project. Is this the one you're referring to in Sacramento? It's pthvp.org. There's a whole resource informational packet on how to do that. They spent a great deal of time based upon lots of research and experience on how to do that. So, you know, one of our goals this year is to really dig into that. We've done informal home visits, but we really want to make it part of the bricks, so to speak, in our family engagement efforts, and home visits are a truly awesome way to go. That is the best way to engage. You really go and see the whole entire environment that your child will or will not be engaging school activities in at home, as well as talking to the folks at home, the child's #1 teacher at home.
Fantastic. And we also have some additional resources on home visits on our resource page, which I'll be showing in just a moment. One final question. Any suggestions for secondary teachers in high school? Ooh, quiet.
Well, like, it's Lisa Dabbs here. Well, like, well, I'll speak. I have two sons, and both of them are in their 20s now, but both of them did go to high school, and I do want to share, and I thank that high school teacher for bringing that up, that the teachers at my son's school did not take time to conference with me. My children were gifted, but regardless of that, they were having some issues, and they were not academic. They were typically, from time to time, social, and the thing that I really was upset about, especially as a principal at that time, was that the teachers did not reach out to me to try to communicate with me about the social needs or concerns that my sons had. And so if you're a high school teacher thinking that, well, I have 150 students and I have 6 periods and I don't have time to do this, which is what the teachers sadly at my son's high schools said, and these were distinguished schools in the state of California. As far as I'm concerned, they are not distinguished. I just have to say that. I really want to urge you to take the time to call them, even just call them on the phone. Let them know what's going on. I know that's 150 kids and you can't reach them all, but I would have loved to have had one of my son's teachers call me or send an email. Send an email home. Let the parents know, hey, you know, my son's names are Jason and Aaron, so hey, you know, Aaron was doing really great on his art project, but I noticed that he looked really down today. Or, you know, Aaron's doing really great in his mathematics, but he's having some concerns in this algebra concept. I'm wondering if we could just talk over the phone. I mean, seriously, 8 years, both my boys in high school, didn't get any communication with high school teachers. So high school teachers, I really urge you to do this. And the best way that I would recommend that you might do this, and Joe, maybe you might want to chime in on this, is set up a wiki or a Google site where you can upload the information that you're doing in your class, the projects that you're doing as an English teacher, as an algebra teacher, as a social studies teacher, that parents could log on to, or that they could simply see. You don't really need to log into a wiki and be a member of the wiki to see what is in the wiki. And what a tremendous way to engage your parents and keep them informed of what you're doing in your class. But high school teachers, you know, please don't leave parents out of the conversations that are going on with kids at school. It's so important. I appreciate that, teacher, for bringing that up.
Right, and one other teacher just chimed in that at her son's high school, you can email the teachers, and she loves that you can reach the teachers by email. So it is a two-way street. So teachers letting parents know that you're available for these kind of communications as well. Thank you so much. We have just a moment left, so I want to put in the chat window the link to where our resource page is. We will add the link to the recorded webinar and the slides as soon as they're available. We're going to have we do have articles and templates for teachers to help you guide your parent-teacher conferences. Several of our teachers, Pernille and others, offered links to Google Documents that you can download and copy. We also have articles and links that you can share with your parents to help them prepare for the most important 20 minutes. And we have tech guides for teachers and parents from both Edutopia and the NEA available to our teachers. So I do want to share that that's available to you. I was really pleased to see in our question link that we have some new people that are going to join Twitter. So as you do, please reach out to our participating committee today. And I do want to give a special thanks to Joe and Lisa and Greg and Pernille and Glenn. And please follow these guys Wednesdays. We've got the new teacher chat at 8 p.m. Eastern, and we've got the parent-teacher chat at 9 p.m. Eastern on Twitter. And there's resources on how to join those chats as well as other education chats in our resource page. So all of those are listed there for you. You don't need to be taking notes right now. And in the last few minutes, I do want to welcome anybody that wants to quickly and easily get their parents organized for their parent-teacher conference to use Volunteer Spot. We're a free and easy coordination tool. I'm going to walk you through a very, very quick demo.
Hey, Karen.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Joe. I just want to let you know that I see there's a couple people that put questions in that we didn't have time for, but I'm going to try to go in and answer some of them. I see one from Ayana here, some other that those people not to log off yet because we're going to answer some of these questions in here.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Joe. I'm also hearing some feedback now, so I don't know if other panelists can mute for just a moment. So basically, I want to show you from the parent time, the teacher can very quickly, in 5 screens, set up the parent-teacher conference invitation, and then send an email or put a link on your school website or your e-newsletter to your parents, or you can print a link in the handout that you sent home, or it can be a direct invitation, and then the parents can sign up for their parent-teacher conference spot. So they'll just click a link. If you send them the email link, we'll cookie them by email, so parents never need a password on Volunteer Spot. They love that. They can come straight in, and on the calendar they can see what days are available and what days are full. If they happen to be on their mobile device, we'll automatically route them to a screen that is made to fit their mobile device, so they don't need to do any kind of switching or download any apps. So the parent will choose what day is best for their conference, and then they can choose what conference time they want to have. Very quickly they can see what's full and what's free. And then when they're signed up, the little button turns green. When they press save and confirm, we send them an automated confirmation message, and then 2 days before their conference, Volunteer Spot will send them an automated reminder message. It's that easy, and that's as easy as the parent experience is. When the parent also gets their confirmation message, they can put their commitments on their calendar. So from the teacher standpoint, it's really just 5 screens. You register an account with a password on Volunteer Spot, or you sign in if you already have an account, and then you create a new activity. You create a multiple day activity for your conferences, or a single day if all your conferences happen in one day. You give it a name, and you put a little welcome message to your parents. Skip the, that registration screen. You put in your name and your phone number, and then you click to plan your very first day of your conference. Click Plan This Day. You choose to add a to-do task for a conference, unless you want parents to bring you snacks during your conference. I think that's a great idea. But tell them we're going to add a to-do task, and we're going to add a parent conference task. One parent can sign up. It's very important. We only have 1 spot available, and then we add a start and an end time. And then you can see here's our parent conference spot from 2:30 to 2:50. 1 parent is available. You know, if a parent already told you ahead of time that, hey, this is the spot they want, you can click Assignments, and you can put in that parent's name. Or if you have a parent who you know is not on email, but you know because you sent a piece of paper home and they told you what day their spot is, you can add an assignment for a parent without email, and we'll remind you when it's your turn, when it's that parent's turn, so you can call them. Then you go ahead and you add your next spot. We're going to be adding a feature where we pre-fill all the conference spots for you, but for now you just go ahead and add another one until the day is full. And there's our conference. It tells you that 0 of 6 spots are full for this day. Then you copy this day to the other days that you're having conferences, and boom, your entire conference is now set up on Volunteer Spot. You send yourself a draft invitation so you can see what it looks like from the volunteer experience, from the parents' experience. Make sure that you have everything like you want it, and then you're ready to invite parents. And you can either invite them by clicking this invite button over here or creating a link. So it's that easy. Here's your conference. You log in, and you can then manage your conference straight from Volunteer Spot. If you need to copy it for other teachers, you can do a quick copy just by clicking this little plus button right here. All right, and then to manage your activity, you just click the My Activities tab. I'm not going to take the time right now, but there's a quick tour video of all the different things you can do on your Activities tab, from looking at your parent roster to making changes to the calendar to sending thank you notes to parents after they've participated. So we've really tried to make the parent-teacher experience easy so we can do all the administrative busy work so you guys can focus on the meaningful work. And that's our goal at Volunteer Spot. So I just want to thank you guys for your time today, thank our wonderful panelists, and go ahead, panelists, if you want to answer any questions in the question window, or if anybody wants to stay on for a few more minutes and ask questions, I'll open up the live feed. And I do want to thank our hosts at McGraw-Hill Education and edX webinar series for hosting us today. It's been a wonderful experience, and audience, you guys have offered wonderful questions, and I really appreciate you staying with us. And on behalf of our panelists, we wish you a very pleasant and productive and successful parent-teacher conference season this year. Thank you.